Oh boy, it is a new year, not new me, same old me. You have yourself, Nick Shackelford, and the lovely, the best co-host and brand builder para agency, Rebecca. Rebecca, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great and glad to hear you haven't changed. Don't want a new Nick, same Nick. That sounds great.
Every time this year is like, what are the plans? This is actually the first time I've ever done this. Is like I actually didn't make any plans for the new year. Like you like set personal goals, not a
Yeah.
single new goal because I just was like, I think I'm just going to try and just try hard every day.
That sounds good. I mean, we're kind of in the same boat. A lot of my goals are like do what I've been doing essentially, like
Yeah.
keep being my best self. So it's like just don't fall off the wagon essentially is the goal. So, I think that we're in the same place.
Oh my God. Oh my gosh. Okay. It's literally just like the goal for this year is to not fall off the wagon. I think I hope that snippet gets pulled. I hope we run that, guys. If anyone in the background, and by guys, I mean like it's literally us that are pulling these clips. Um, yeah, but what's changed for me is like we ended the year in a very like different place as a brand than we did when we started the year, right? So we've been public about this. So by the time this comes out, we'd have been already talking about this, but we've been in a cash crunch since basically July. And when that time of the year happens for us, like middle of July, especially on the brand side, and normally on the agency, you don't really get to experience the pain of the cash not being there. You know your cash is gonna be there, or the worst we get from the agency side, which I know you're gonna nod along, is hey, lower the budgets, or
Yeah.
like hey, like ROAS needs to increase. But when you
Yeah.
actually see it from like a production standpoint or from like a wholesale cash flow standpoint, it kind of hurts. And so I got to go through that in July, which meant if you're going to have a low July, August, September, essentially not acquiring a bunch of new customers to then lean into in the holiday season, it's like exacerbated for us because if we don't push in July and we
Yeah.
don't reacquire or repush in Q4, December really, we need them for New Year, New Me. So I'm sitting here on like the brand side going like we're very efficient. Like today I was checking like we have a $56 new customer CAC
Nice.
on a $112 AOV.
It's crazy.
It's incredible,
It's
right?
crazy.
So like that, like all
It's
all
yeah.
triggers in my mind, like your brain's probably like, oh my god, spend more money.
Yeah,
Yeah, we're
exactly.
trying to, especially as a sub brand. It's just tight, man. It's just hard.
The LTV to CAC ratio game is rough, but it is the life that we lead when we're focused on subscription. And it's also, I'm glad to see that you guys are actually getting your CAC down. I know that was like a major focus for you at the back half of last year, so glad to see it. We're also seeing that on the agency side. We are seeing subscription take rates look really good, even though like economically, like things are really strange right now. There's a lot of uncertainty. I'm still seeing sub take rates look
I know.
really solid. Even in December, it actually looks pretty decent too. I was a little surprised. I thought it wouldn't really pick up until January, but similar sort of kind of momentum that we've been seeing within the agency too.
I want to. I'm curious about your thoughts on this. So we were trying to game take rate. Take rate. There's so many variables here. I'm going to do my best to not make this like a subscription focused top, but this is very top of mind for me from the brand side, and I
Yeah.
know you think about it. So take rate is a function of how incredible the offer or incentive is on PDP or on prisoner page. Like that's like
Yeah.
the simplest sentence. So when we were gaming take rate, we usually hover around like for our specific product, we hover around 70 70 to 80% was like our highest we've ever gotten on the take rate, depending
Yeah.
on the offer. And so it is a constant metric that I monitor, but I stopped caring so heavily around take rate because all it meant was like the deeper I gave a discount or the more free shit that I gave people,
Yeah.
the take rate would go up. Like, okay, you want a higher take rate? Cool, I know how to do that. 40%. And so
Yeah.
it's really interesting to understand that you have to have the direct correlation of take rate to A, the balance of AOV, and B, the quality of customer coming in on it.
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously, if your LTV is suffering because your take rate's really good, then what's the point? So, like you're saying, there is a sweet spot. We do measure it
Yeah.
across our clients, and it's really just to get people to like a bare minimum baseline. We'll have people come in that have a pretty heavy, that should be a pretty heavy subscription businesses that have under 10% sub take rates. And honestly, that's just like an unacceptable rate. That just means there's not a good offer in place. That's essentially like my read on that when I see it is like if you should be getting subscriptions and you're not, there's an offer issue. Maybe there's a landing page issue as well, but those would be my two
Yes.
like first thoughts overall. But that's where we're seeing, we just want bare minimum sub take rates. I usually try and aim to be 30% or higher with most
Yeah.
brands. That's like without having to do heavy discounting. That's like still a discount, still some sort of offer, but not to some level that's not sustainable for the business.
Okay, so you're still in the same. You're like it's a indicator, but it's not a thing that it's like the only thing. It's like, well,
No.
something's we diagnose this like this is way broken. Okay, that's fair.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, that's at least that's my point of view, and I'm always happy to be proven wrong over time. And as we see more data come through, we can always, adjust. But I do think that in this, like where we're at with the subscription industry overall, we need to take subscription rate, but also like I was saying, LTV as a pretty major. Those are like kind of the two major things I'd be looking at to make sure we're actually in a good place as a business.
Well, the funny part about that was we went into like what. So if I were to, like think about like things that we did right or wins or takeaways from
Yeah.
what was working for us in Q4, it was basically we had two offers we ran that were both AOV differing. So I had one that was like a $48, and then we one that was basically a buy more, save more into a bundle builder, which was produced like $120 AOV. And so
Okay.
we our goal was like we don't have as much money to spend. We know we got to make as much money from the contribution margin standpoint.
Yep.
How much can they buy, right? Like we need to push them. And what also is good is like during the season where like we know they're traveling, they're going to parties, they want to actually buy more so they can get more. The more they share with it, it's got like kind of a baked in referral program, if you will. And so
Yeah.
we looked at like if we didn't run any sort of offer or any sort of deep incentive that wasn't just like a banner at the top, but it was like a full page, full design. I think we would have really lost. I think it would have hurt us a tremendous amount. And we just focused solely. We couldn't do the volume of spend because of dollars. We just focused on AOV. Like I were like, I need to get as much money for the products we're selling right now. So we didn't try to like
Yeah.
stress the spend.
I mean, I mean, your co-founder Jake, that is what he talks about all the time is when we can't get where we need to go, let's just make an AOV play. Bundles is it's honestly saved a lot of businesses even when subscriptions in play because as you're saying, you just get the revenue to cover the cost and things a lot of things can change for you when you have that going on. So,
I think so.
definitely have
What'd
seen
you
that
find?
work really well.
What else did you see on this? Like, 'cause I was curious on what you were noticing across the giftable brands, or even like
Yeah.
the not like I wouldn't consider us a giftable brand, but do you have anything on like the giftable side or like the non-giftable, like the evergreen shit?
Yeah, so brands that are like, I would say directly in the gifting space saw very strong performance no matter what they did essentially, because they are, to your point, like a direct giftable brand. We
Yeah,
honestly don't manage a lot of brands in that space directly. We manage a lot of brands that are like trying to play in the space, but like they're kind of in your category. They're like, you could buy us this time of year, but it's not like you're going to gift it to someone. So
yeah,
it's kind of a different strategy. And we saw like, especially during Black Friday, very kind of average performance. And I would say the average performance was if those brands tried to push really heavily. So the brands
yeah.
that were like trying to be a little bit more conservative and focus more on CAC, they did see efficiency, but at low scale. So that was kind of my number one takeaway. And then they did see like okay performance during early December, but a lot of them actually saw the back half of December really work out better for them that weren't in the direct gifting category. Because I think as soon as gifting started, those advertisers left the space, that kind of made way for brands like yourself to kind of start pushing and taking up some of the ad spend and the ad share. So that's what we saw. I don't know if I have any major takeaways from like if pushing a certain AOV worked better than another. It was mostly about like where the demand was during
Yeah.
different periods. So it was like keeping spend like conservative but efficient. If you aren't a gifting brand during late November, December, early December, and then shifting heavily back half of December and just having that budget control is really what we saw a lot of performance improvements. And then the bundles for giftable brands, I've seen I've seen such a variety in performance. Sometimes they hit, but they have to be like really
Yeah.
unique bundles that are, I would say, like hard to get or like feel very unique. And people do like gifting those, and those do sell really well. So it's like you really have to have the right strategy in place for those to work during like gifting season, I think.
I feel that. That would make sense to me too, because I feel as though it used to be, and maybe this is like the pre-tariff era, where people are
Hmm.
like, just spend as much as we possibly can. We have cash in the bank, go for it, acquire these customers. I felt like a lot more people this season were, I guess, like more responsible. Like they, even if they could have, they're like, well, it's okay. Like let's like cash the W, let's get the money, and then we'll just continue like kind of business as usual. Like I didn't see a bunch of people, at least at least inside on our side, inside our brand, we were not
Hmm.
cranking out tons of content. We kind of pulled away and we went very specific, because I'm the big Andromeda talk was like, we want different signals, we want different formats, and we want distinction. Right. I think
Yeah.
those are the easiest three things to speak about.
Hmm.
At once you understand that, and then you're like, I need to increase this. That's where we're at. We're in the stage of, okay, it's middle of January. I want to increase this. We have the baselines done. It's been interesting being agency brand trying to work with other agencies. Like I have very strong opinions of how information should be delivered for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
um but I was wondering if how this chat has been going with your crew.
On the creative diversity side, you
Yeah.
know,
Like,
I think you know that like Meta in particular has been pushing this very heavily for a while. We really didn't start to see the impact of creative diversity until the second weekend of October. We saw like a very weird thing happen on all of our advertisers where like performance in general just completely dipped. And the only ads that were working were things that were like creative testing for formats that weren't that performant historically. So we took that as a signal that we should lean into creative diversity, which is something that we've been doing a lot more of. And honestly, since that period where we made a lot of really big shifts going into November as a team, we've seen creative diversity is actually helping us get more performance. But the big thing is one, making sure clients have the asset types we need, which is a struggle, and
yeah,
also like making sure they're on board with our strategy. It's like, yeah, we're not really iterating the same way we used to. It's not like we're switching out a headline on a top performing image. We're actually doing like three changes to an ad now. So it's like headline, maybe add like some like a sticker with like stars on it with like reviews, and maybe the background image is also changing, but it's still in the same vein of what we were running.
yep.
So that is really the shift that our team has been making. So it's been like a huge communication push for us, as you can imagine, trying to like get people to shift their way of thinking. And yeah, we are doing what's best for you, and they're actually seeing the results. So it's really not been hard to
Good.
get them on board once we have the conversation and they understand what the implications are. But it's been a huge shift, and it happened at like the worst time of the year, frankly, because if this would have happened in the summer, I would have been like, okay, like kind of sucks, but we'll make it through it. It's just that it was happening like in Q4, and it made it like very chaotic. But thankfully, a lot of the creative diversity shifts we made going into Black Friday, and that actually did lead to better performance on asset types and ad formats that had never worked on an account previously. So it is, if someone isn't investing in it, it makes sense to push it. And I know you guys, I know you've been slacking me on different creative routes you
Yeah.
guys are taking to try and get more assets. It sounds like you guys are doing more shoots and using AI possibly where possible, or what are you guys doing to get more assets in the mix?
We're having a philosophical conversation around like the AI human influencer. Like, because our product, like, it's really hard to recreate our can, but it's really easy to recreate like faces speaking about the can, like of our demographic. And so I'm trying to like, we have a ton of B-roll, we have a ton of UGC, we have a what we call EGC, like employee generated content. We have a whole
Okay.
channel where it's like, hey guys, yo, here's the brief. Katie, Corbin, Nick, Travis, Aaron, like we need these, go. And so then we'll be the real one speaking about it. But there's just other elements around like ingredients, right? Like some of the best performing assets I've seen for products that have like distinctive ingredients. Ours, lion's mane, ashwagandha,
Yeah.
uh, guayasha. Like we have like these things where you're like, what the fuck is that? And so I
Yeah.
think that is where I'm trying to get more AI that's kind of narrative and tying into the messages that like my formulator is creating to and talking about. So I'm finding ways that I need more AI just to make use of what we currently already have from a tagging standpoint. And this is
Yeah.
where motion comes in of like understanding and tagging, understanding where these clips could be. We
Yeah.
don't do anything like full blown AI, even though we probably could. There's two. We were on Arc Ads. We're not on Arc Ads. We were on Icon. We're not. No, we're no longer on Icon. We do use Constant if we need to get some updates or like some speed of iterations.
Yep.
But that's pretty much it.
I think that AI ads specifically, like we honestly don't use them in any of our advertisers unless it's like a strategy to make it kind of look like an AI ad, and it's kind of like spoofy and memey at that point. And I feel like there is a space that that can work, is having something that's like it kind of is funny because it's so weird and bad. That, but the client obviously has to be on board with it. So like we're not just like knocking out AI ads. And I think from an agency perspective, we have to be a little bit more conservative, mostly because we don't want to come off looking bad, where you guys have a lot more creative control and you guys can kind of decide if you feel comfortable with the look of it and stuff like that. So makes sense.
I think you're. I think you're right. It's so difficult to pull that stuff off. What about this? Like, if I were to ask you, like, how are the conversations going with some of the brands as like the year's just starting to kick off?
Just as a whole, like as their for their whole business, or with regards to creative in particular.
Well, so the creative is like the hardest part to nail down. And at the beginning of the year, a lot of these brands come out with like, hey, like we're shifting our way we approach creative. We're shifting our way that we do narrative around the customer journey. Like our biggest push right now internally is okay. We believe that we have at any moment like three offers running top of funnel.
Yeah.
What should they see first? What is the number one thing that we're running with? Can we like segment it so it's just specifically new customers at all times? So it's a big like rebuild around how do we our Q1 initiative is like we need to evaluate our customer journey and the entry points, and then what is the journey of expanding AOV and LTV? That is like I would say our one shot thesis. And I wonder if you are hearing of these things from brands or pushing these in this direction.
Yeah, I mean it's interesting because we do hear a lot in January and even in early December as well to around like bigger initiatives to push for the year. I will say that it's very important for us to be ahead of the conversation. So the brand isn't necessarily coming to us saying,
Yep.
"Hey, we need to shift." We're saying, "Hey, we believe you need to shift. We're seeing this with your business." So the things that we are trying to be more proactive about, to your point, is we're trying to be more proactive about make if a brand needs offers or needs to be more subscription focused, we're trying to bring those to the brands ahead of time. I just got off a call today with a new brand that we've expanded service into, and they are dealing with an incrementality issue. But we actually
Mm.
suspected this was an issue in the audit, and we built in some layers of protection essentially to make sure we're measuring incrementality. And after our first 30-day readout within Meta, we saw incrementality wasn't happening. And so
Crazy.
this was something that we were already ahead on, but they also brought it to us, and we're trying to game plan how to get more incremental sales for their business. So I definitely am hearing a lot with regards to just shifting and continuing to expand business. But it's a lot of it's like, what things should we be thinking of? Should we be thinking about Amazon more? Like, how does Amazon play? Should we be thinking about offer testing? Should we be more aggressive with our offers? What's too aggressive? And then also incrementality is another kind of major category, but I wouldn't say it all happens this time of year. It's kind of like that ongoing conversation that we're continuing to hear from brands and have been honestly hearing for the last, I would say, like 6 to 9 months or so.
This makes sense. I guess I would say we're from the retention side to the acquisition side. Retention is definitely like customer journey, understanding the type of messages and how aggressive do you want to be with them. And on the acquisition side is we know like what is our best performing SKUs and we know how much inventory we have
Yeah.
and we have limited budget. So it's like the rotation between how many customers we want coming from offers versus how many we want coming from just like the normal path or at the
Yeah.
higher AOV. That's probably going to be the sum up. So if there's any brands thinking out there, you have to have the offer in mind or an incentive for them to come through just for the paid team to have diversity around AOV. Like if you're just running the site and you're multi-product, or if you're a hero product, like it's a little bit straightforward, a little easier. But even for multi SKUs or solo SKUs, you need an incentive because it just gives variety and ability to actually push more spend in the ad account.
That's a great point because I do think a lot of people lose sight of that. It definitely helps get that blended CAC to a place that feels manageable, having offers at different price points because there's obviously a lot of benefits to getting high AOV customers in, but honestly, if everyone could be a high AOV customer, then we'd all be making a lot more money. So like we can't just leave people on the table because they don't want to spend $120 on a bundle, but they want to maybe they're fine spending 50 and that should be okay with us too.
Exactly. Well, Beck, it was good to see you to kick off the year. We are going to be ongoing with this. We're going to have actually another gentleman, his name is Travis, jump in here and there, and we're going to pull some retention people from the agency to kind of give it updates as we come to the end of these months. But I appreciate you. It's good to see you, and I hope you guys have a good start to the year.
Same. Have a great one. I'll talk to you later.